Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If I can ask you to find your seats, we are about to begin the fourth plenary session on cross-regional security order challenges, a theme that has already been mentioned multiple times, actually, in our deliberations here. It has been pointed out how risks reach across regions, how the impact of conflict reaches across regions. We have talked a little bit about defense industrial links across regions, all against the background of an ever more complex security picture. So we want to explore existing and future challenges and how these can be best mitigated. And we have, once more, three excellent speakers to help us do this. To my right, I'm delighted to welcome Ingrida Šimonytė, the Prime Minister of Lithuania. To my immediate left, I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Khalid bin Mohammed Al Attiyah, the Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister of Qatar. And to my far left, Kihara Minoru, the Minister of Defense of Japan. So I'm looking forward to our discussion. Madam Prime Minister, if I may ask you to take the podium, we're looking forward to your remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, and honorable guests, it is a true honor to address this distinguished assembly today at the Shangri-La Dialogue, a forum dedicated to fostering dialogue and cooperation on security matters. As the Prime Minister of Lithuania, a nation of 3 million, proud of its heritage and commitment to democratic values, I stand before you to emphasize a crucial point: small states matter. Even though Lithuania is situated 10,000 kilometers away, for us, it is of major importance to have an uplifting, trust-based relationship with the Indo-Pacific region, which is why a year ago, our government adopted the Indo-Pacific strategy, underscoring the interconnectedness of our world. Our world aspires to be one of peace, cooperation, and mutual respect, grounded in the rule-based international order. It is also my strong belief that democratic values, the rule of law, and the respect for human rights make the world a better place for all of us. However, for the third consecutive year, we are witnessing a brutal war launched by Russia in Ukraine. One might label it as European war because of its geography. But this war is not confined to a single region. It is an assault on democratic values and on the freedom of nations everywhere. It is rooted in the imperialistic ambition of an aggressor who has a permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council, whose mission is to preserve global peace. In Lithuania, we have come to understand long ago that underinvestment in our security, any economic dependence on authoritarian regimes, is a very risky undertaking. Moreover, silence and appeasement in the face of aggression endanger not only our neighbors' security, but our own as well. I hope that war is undeniable evil in the eyes of everybody here, and ignoring it is not an option. Ukraine needs the unwavering support of all nations that cherish freedom. The world must unite in this cause, for a divided response only emboldens aggressors wherever they reside. This is not a regional issue. This is a global imperative. This is a fight for freedom for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's interconnected world, no nation, regardless of size, can afford to be an isolated island. The global challenges we face, be it geopolitical tensions, cybersecurity threats, or economic instability, demand collective action and cooperation. Small states like Lithuania, though modest in size and population, possesses unique strengths that are invaluable in this collective effort. Lithuania, though small, stands firm in support for Ukraine, contributing around 2% of our GDP. The strong and united response from European countries, NATO, and other democratic nations give us hope that the aggressor will be defeated and a sustainable peace will be secured. What we need most today is the courage to support Ukraine without taboos or red lines, wherever victory takes. Today we call upon the Indo-Pacific region to support Ukraine. Your political and practical support is crucial. By aiding Ukraine, you contribute to global stability. There are many ways to help. For example, by joining Lithuania-led demining coalition, or by helping Ukraine to rebuild critical infrastructure intentionally destroyed by Russian bombs and missiles. Honored guests, Russia's aggressive war has far-reaching consequences, including for this region. Russia is trying to re-establish the axis of authoritarianism, aligning with Iran and North Korea. This alliance affects European security through military support to Russia, destabilizes the Middle East, and negatively impacts the Indo-Pacific through military cooperation of Russia, North Korea, and China's support for Russia's military industry. As long as Russia is allowed to trample down its neighbors' freedom, other aggressors will feel emboldened to pursue their own ambitions, undermining global stability. Lithuania's strategic location on NATO's eastern flank made us frontline state in defending the principle of sovereignty and territorial integrity. This position comes with immense responsibility and opportunity. We have been unwavering in our commitment to NATO, contributing more than 2.7% of GDP to collective defense. The presence of NATO enhanced forward presence and future German brigade in Lithuania is a testament to ensuring the security of the Baltic region. These multinational battle groups symbolize solidarity and deterrence, sending a clear message that an attack on one is an attack on all. Instability harms economies, development, and societies. There should be no gray zones or buffer zones in Europe or elsewhere. While some may want to view Lithuania as a buffer zone, what truly matters is how small states position themselves. Lithuania, bordered by Russia and Belarus, has no choice but to align with like-minded countries. For small states, adherence to international law and norms is not a choice but a necessity. We all know that rule-based international order is the bedrock of global stability. Small states can only achieve strength through unity, both regionally and globally. We are strongest when we act together. Ladies and gentlemen, I firmly believe that small states thrive on collaboration and coalition building. Lithuania, through its partnerships with other Baltic nations and its engagement in Nordic-Baltic cooperation, serves as an example how regional cooperation can amplify our collective voice and influence. The success of the European integration model can be instructive for the Indo-Pacific region. Strengthening like-minded multilateral and bilateral formats in this region is essential for stability. Our experiences also make us acutely aware of the need for a strong international order. We understand what it means to fight for independence, democracy, and against tyranny, as we restored our independence from Soviet occupation 34 years ago. It is our duty to support those engaged in similar struggles today. Despite geographical distance, we recognize the significance of the Indo-Pacific region to global security and economic prosperity. During the last 4 years, we opened new embassies in Singapore, South Korea, in Australia, trade office in Taiwan. This mirrors our strategic interest in fostering deeper economic ties and supporting democratic values. By engaging with the Indo-Pacific, we not only diversify our economic partnerships, but also contribute to regional stability by cooperation in defense. Our involvement in this region is driven by a commitment to uphold a free and open Indo-Pacific, where the sovereignty of a nation is respected and international waters remain open for navigation. We have also invested heavily in building relations with other like-minded governments in the region, strengthening defense cooperation from cybersecurity, fighting disinformation, to increasing military cooperation. I'm convinced that these are important elements in building state and society resilience. Lithuania stands in full support of the Defense Industrial Base Statement of Principles, as announced by Secretary Austin. My government will support enhanced cooperation between Lithuanian defense industry and partners in Indo-Pacific region. Ladies and gentlemen, our approach to cyber defense is a case in point. Lithuania has become a leader in cybersecurity, not just by enhancing our own defenses, but by sharing our experience with allies and partners. This collaborative spirit is essential in countering the complex transnational threats we face today. Our regional cyber defense center in Kaunas could serve as a practical platform to deepen cooperation with Indo-Pacific countries. Equally important is to build our common resilience against disinformation. In this regard, I would like to point out a joint initiative of OECD and Lithuania to establish a training center for building democratic resilience and countering disinformation. Center is to provide training to representatives from OECD and partner countries to build capacity in identifying, mitigating, preventing, and countering undue foreign influence. The first group of international representatives will convene for training in Lithuania in a couple of weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, small states like Lithuania can and should play an important role in global order. Our contributions to regional security, advocacy for international norms, and engagement in broader geopolitical arenas should not be discounted. If we, as a global community, are to backslide into the world order where imperialistic ambitions of some rule the day, and the bigger states, whatever that means, feel entitled to decide the fate of the smaller neighbors, it is just a matter of time when we will be doomed to tragically discover, once again, that in such world, no one is big enough. It is our collective responsibility to defend rule-based order, to stand united. Together, we can navigate the challenges of today and build a more secure and prosperous world for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those remarks, in particular the clarity with which you assess the situation in Europe and the global implications it has. I think that was a very useful contribution. Thank you also to pointing to a couple of really interesting areas for potential cooperation. The Cyber Defense Center you mentioned, disinformation issues, all of very big relevance here in the region as well. May I ask Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defense Alatia, please, to take the podium. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, good afternoon. I have long prioritized our engagement and participation in the IISS Shangri-La dialogue for years now, knowing that very few do it as the IISS does when it comes to open and compelling debate. Dissecting and critiquing security policies and informing on global security challenges, I have each year better informed and invigorated. Our session this afternoon carries a heavy title, one that I cannot do just by tackling in a few minutes of speech. However, I do hope to shed a new light on Qatar's approach to meeting challenges of regional and by extension cross-regional security challenges. An approach that I believe, if pursued collectively across regional and adopted by all state actors, will set us on the right and clear track toward international harmony and welfare. I think it will not work without this. Thank you. The Qatari approach is simply a concept, challenging in action and contentious. To those who reject change, the foundation of our approach, the bedrock on which we have built our Foreign and security policy is that our people and residents come first. The policy manifests in several ways. First, our main investment is in our human capital development and well-being. Spearheaded by our wise leadership, the education sector of Qatar is a shining star in both our region and beyond. Our universal health care is a right afforded to all, and our economy is geared toward meeting the needs of our people and sourcing long-lasting, high standard of living. Our local laws are constantly evolving and maturing in alignment with an agile and young state such as ours, both growing in wisdom and functionality. Next, we move to the letter of the law. We are firm advocates of upholding and honoring international treaties and conventions. Qatar has prioritized its membership in the international regulatory and promotional organization that aim to harmonize the action of state toward peace and development. Throughout our young history, we have found ourselves at an impasse with the other nation states. Our initial instinct was to call for dialogue, advocating for the principle of peace through mediation. When failing to find a peaceful resolution through dialogue, we sought out the counsel and justice of the court in mitigation conflicts. Our belief is that none are above the letter of the law. All states, irrespective of size or might, are subject to the law of international conduct. The significance of international law in representing our collective humanity is on full display. The role the ICJ has played in recent months in deliberating on the ongoing war in Gaza has essential to giving voice to the right of the Palestinian. The state of Qatar sees any opportunity to reaffirm its position on the justice of the Palestinian cause and the Palestinian people's legitimate right to self-determination. We speak today of regional and cross-regional alliance, yet a principle remains. Any alliance built on the idea of the continued subjugation of a people is an alliance doomed to failure. Honorable attendees, a hindrance to both regional cohesion and economic prosperity, regional and cross-regional struggles, force a nation to look at the capability in a new light. The state of Qatar has sought out the best interoperable defense capability, taken a comprehensive and whole approach of land, sea, air, and intelligent capacity, building in order to best position ourselves as an ally for peace and as a stable and reliable regional partner. We have built on our long-standing foreign relationship and have sought out new global partners in order to consolidate our efforts in progressing our own security and contributing effectively in the collective security of the world. We have found through this process the effective communication is key. Often our interests with others are aligned. It is in the messaging and the receiving of said message that issues begin to arise. We have adopted a policy of open and consistent communication with our state partners, prioritizing dialogue and engagement. We are all able to point to events in recent global history that could have benefited from this approach, and Qatar continues to advocate for dialogue and endorse mediation as the main tool for conflict resolution and long-lasting peace. In order to successfully progress global security and to avoid challenges that triumvirate of national development, the upholding of the rule of law, and effective communication must operate as a partnership of three. For sustainability, regional and cross-regional security to take effect, and for us to all reap its benefit toward the collective security of nations and its people. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to the remainder of the session.
Deputy Prime Minister, thank you so much for your remarks. And you spoke about the fact that partnerships should serve the purpose of cohesion, of prosperity, and you mentioned that partnerships require effective communications, something that we're trying to support here as well. And you pointed to the importance of mediation, of which, of course, recent history and current events provide us with plenty of examples. So again, a lot to dig into. Thank you very much. May I ask, please, Minister Giegerich to take the floor. The minister will speak in Japanese. So those who need the translation, please take your devices. English is on channel 1. Minister.
Chairman Emot and distinguished guests, it is a let me express my sincere gratitude to the IISS and the government of Singapore for hosting us all again. Are you ready for your headset? Okay, I'll make a...
My history with IISS goes back to 2014, when I had the privilege of delivering remarks at the IISS in London as Parliamentary Vice Minister of Defence. 10 years on, now at the Shangri-La dialogue, I'm greatly honored to join this session with Prime Minister Šimonytė of Lithuania and Deputy Prime Minister Attila of Qatar. It's a great honor. Russia's aggression against Ukraine still continues 2 years later. This aggression has blatantly infringed on the principles laid out in the UN Charter, such as sovereignty, territorial integrity, and general prohibition of the use of force, the very foundation of the international order built by predecessors at great sacrifice has been shaken by Russia's outrageous act. In the Middle East, we have been witnessing new tragedy around Israel and the Palestine. The protracted combat is making the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip increasingly dire. Furthermore, the Houthis' attacks on civilian ships in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, which are key points of maritime transportation, are seriously impeding the freedom of navigation. Japan has been continuing our diplomatic efforts to calm down the situation as soon as possible and to improve the humanitarian situation. In East Asia, there are also numerous challenges to the international order. North Korea has repeatedly launched ballistic missiles and others in violation of UN Security Council resolutions. Even this past week, North Korea has gone ahead with launches of ballistic missiles and others. Such actions threaten the peace and security of not only Japan, but the region and the international community. We are also witnessing unilateral changes to the status quo by force or coercion, and such attempts in the East and South China Seas. Peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait is also important. Furthermore, Russia has increased its military activities in the Far East region, including the Northern Territories, an inherent territory of Japan, where Russia's illegal occupation still continues. The destabilization of regions across the world has become evident. Lamentably, over the last few years, the risk of cross-regional simultaneous crisis and inadvertent conflict has significantly increased. With such increase of the cross-border risks have significantly increased, while interstate competition is intensifying, we have seen the rise of cross-border risks. Security issues in a broad sense, such as climate change and natural disasters, cannot be solved without cooperation on a global scale, as borders mean little to these challenges. In an increasingly interconnected world, complex and wide-ranging issues have come to the surface. These issues are crossing or negating borders and boundaries in terms of geography, kinetic and non-kinetic domains, and military and civilian spheres. Facing such risks, no country can ensure its own security alone. Because we're in such an environment, we must promote cooperation beyond borders to deal with an unpredictable world. We cannot be optimistic about the security environment in the Indo-Pacific region where we have gathered today. In the Indo-Pacific region, one cannot rule out the possibility of a situation that could shake the very foundation of the international order. Just as in other parts of the world, there are serious challenges in this region. Military build-up without transparency, cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, and the spread of disinformation and malicious narratives. The boundary between peacetime and contingency is becoming increasingly blurred. Economic coercion and the increasing application of influence through opaque and unfair development finance is also a cause of concern. Additionally, risks in the underwater domain, such as the intentional destruction of undersea cables, are becoming apparent. We must not allow these challenges to be resolved through armed conflict. Conflict in the Indo-Pacific region would incur a significant cost on every country. Prosperity in this region, where the Indian Ocean and the Pacific meet, is directly connected to the growth of the global economy. Conflict in this region would have a global impact. Supply chains would certainly be disrupted. The loss of human lives would be enormous. It is in the common interest of the entire international community to maintain pace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Japan stands at the forefront of these efforts. We are determined to lead efforts to uphold and reinforce a free and open international order based on the rule of law, utilizing a network of countries that share this goal. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Kishida, Japan is undertaking a fundamental reinforcement of defense capability based on its national security strategy, national defense strategy, and defense build-up plan, which were formulated in 2022. Our defense consists of three approaches. The first is strengthening Japan's own architecture for national defense. The second approach is deterrence and response capabilities of the Japan-US alliance, which is the cornerstone of Japan's national security and the foundation of regional peace and stability. The third is collaboration with like-minded countries and partners. Through these approaches, Japan is working on possessing our own counter-strike capabilities, a key to deterring invasion against Japan, while we fundamentally reinforce our existing defense capabilities. And given that the risks in the cyber domain are growing increasingly severe, the Japan Ministry of Defense and self-defense forces are enhancing cyber defense capabilities so that we can proactively contribute to whole-of-government efforts on cyber security. Between Japan and the United States, various initiatives are in progress, such as the establishment of a Forum on Defense Industrial Cooperation, Acquisition and Sustainment, (DICAS), which is announced in the Joint Leaders' Statement in April. Japan seeks to strengthen both our bilateral collaboration and minilateral cooperation, such as with the United States, Australia, and the Philippines, as well as strengthen its cooperation with NATO and the EU. We continue to promote defense equipment and technology cooperation, such as the Global Combat Air Program, GCAP, for developing the next generation fighter aircraft between Japan, the UK, and Italy, as well as transfer of air surveillance radar system to the Philippines, 2 of which have already been delivered. Japan's reinforcement of defense capabilities and enhanced collaboration with its ally and like-minded countries and partners are not meant to exacerbate tensions in the regions. Our intention is quite the opposite. Japan seeks to deter unilateral changes to the status quo by force in order to create a desirable security environment while supporting countries facing aggression in violation of international law or threats of force. To these ends, Japan is taking on a greater role with its ally and like-minded countries. To make deterrence more robust, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, ISR, is critical. Recently, disinformation and malicious narratives are constantly disseminated by foreign actors using the latest technology, including generative AI, through various channels like social media, aiming to undermine the credibility of Japan, our ally, and like-minded countries. There have also been attempts to change the status quo through the use of law enforcement agencies. As the boundary between peacetime and contingency has become increasingly blurred, our ability to accurately grasp what is happening is critical. Japan puts priority on ISR that ensures seamless, continuous situational awareness at sea and in the air surrounding Japan. Additionally, amid the complex security environment, it is vital to improve our capabilities by fully utilizing cutting-edge technologies. Japan promotes the incorporation of advanced technologies such as surveillance with unmanned assets, as well as analysis, projection of information, and support with decision-making using AI. The improvement of situation awareness capabilities is not something we do alone. With our ally and like-minded countries and partners, Japan works on enhancing regional capabilities every day. Among Japan, the United States, and the Republic of Korea, real-time sharing of North Korean missile warning data is already in operation. We strengthen the rule of law at sea by sharing maritime domain awareness data with countries in the region through Indo-Pacific Partnership for Maritime Domain Awareness, IPMDA, a joint initiative of Japan, the United States, Australia, and India. We support the improvement of monitoring and surveillance capabilities for both maritime and air domains of friendly countries through the Official Security Assistance, OSA, as well as the transfer of defense equipment and technology. Each country monitors the sea and air, shares information, and ensures swift responses in times of emergency. Enhancing such situational awareness capabilities is an integral part of peace and stability in this region, and Japan will continue to support this endeavor. We believe that cooperation with like-minded countries and partners should be expanded beyond what we have today. Russia's aggression against Ukraine, the situation in the Gaza Strip, and attacks on civilian ships in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden have demonstrated the importance of collaboration regardless of geography. For instance, between Japan and Europe, including Lithuania, who is also present here today, substantial cross-regional collaboration is growing. Cooperation on cyber and women, peace and security, PS, as well as joint training with European countries are a prime example of that effort. Of course, Japan remains committed to cooperation within the Indo-Pacific region. We continue to closely cooperate with ASEAN to support their centrality, unity, and resilience. With Pacific Island countries, Japan promotes cooperation towards the realization of the 2050 strategy for the Blue Pacific continent, respecting their centrality, unity, and ownership. We also support cooperation between Japan, ASEAN, and Pacific Island countries, and we continue to be a close partner for regional countries. On the other hand, security cooperation between Japan and the Middle East, including Qatar, who's also with us today, has untapped potential. We will promote defense cooperation and exchanges with the Middle East as well. Japan will respond to cross-regional issues in an interconnected world and work together with friends throughout Europe and the Indo-Pacific who share the goal of protecting peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region and the world. Together, we will continue our endeavor to realize a free and open Indo-Pacific. Standing at history's turning point, the challenges that we must address have grown immensely. Whether the world of tomorrow will enjoy peace and prosperity or will experience more instability, the moment of truth is now. Distinguished guests, the future will be built by us. The fate of the international order depends upon our choices. That is why Japan chooses the rule of law over the rule of force, solidarity over division, and cooperation over coercion. Our challenges cannot be solved by one country alone. Let's make these choices together and work together towards a better world.
Minister, thank you very much for those remarks, for your clear assessment of the threats, regional and global, but in particular also for outlining the reinforcement of the defense effort that Japan is involved in, its many components, and how that leads to new partnerships and cross-regional collaboration as well. You gave a couple of specific examples of different capability areas that might trigger a couple of questions as well. So we will again take a few questions. We will perhaps start off with a group of 5 or 6, and then I'll ask our panel to respond to these. And the first one is from the UK and the IISS. Robert Ward, please.
Thank you, Bastian. A question for Minister Kihara. Japan's relations with NATO have deepened, as you said in your address, particularly so since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In his keynote at the 2022 Shangri-La dialogue, Prime Minister Kishida also linked European and Asian security in his Ukraine today could be East Asia tomorrow observation. How do you see Japan's relations with NATO evolving, and does NATO have a role in Asia? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robert. We will now have from Myanmar, Na Mumopar.
Thank you. My question is, how might a people-centered approaches address regional security challenges and counter disinformation in the Indo-Pacific regions and border area, and strengthen cybersecurity cooperation among democracy nations?
Thank you very much. And from France, Emile Hokayen.
Thank you very much. The question is directed to Deputy Prime Minister Al-Attiyah. Thank you for your comments. Qatar is clearly at the forefront of diplomacy over the Gaza conflict, but you also have a growing profile here in the Indo-Pacific. Can you tell us how Qatar recruits diplomatic support in the region? Who are your key strategic partners? How are you aligning with those large nations like Indonesia that we just heard about the next steps in this conflict? And as a result, are you getting diplomatic credit for your effort in this part of the world?
Thank you very much. From the United States, Ishan Tharoor, please.
Thank you very much. My question is for Prime Minister Šimonytė. In the preceding session, President-elect Prabowo talked about the growing disillusionment in the Global South over Western talk about the rules-based order and international law. I think he was referring to the perceived double standard in the way in which the West talks about these principles when it comes to both the crisis in Ukraine and the crisis in the Middle East. In your view, as we've seen over the catastrophe in Gaza over the last 7 months, the mounting civilian death toll, the humanitarian crisis, and indeed the angry geopolitics that have surrounded it, has any of that, in your view, impacted your allies' ability to generate the kind of solidarity and support you want to see from, say, the Global South for Ukraine?
Thank you, and we'll take perhaps 1 or 2 more in this round. From China, Song Xue.
Thank you. This question is directed to Japanese minister. So, United States is likely to ban TikTok in the coming month due to alleged security threat. I would like to know the stance of Japan and if Japan is going to follow US to ban TikTok.
Okay, a very specific question there. I'll take 1 more in this round. John Rain from the UK.
Thank you, Bastian. My question is for Prime Minister Šimonytė, but other members of the panel may wish to comment. You said that small states matter. My question is, do they matter to each other? What would you say to small states who have chosen to take a very accommodating policy position towards Russia and China, in contrast to the bold, defiant strategy which Lithuania and other Baltic small states have taken?
Thank you very much. So we'll take those 6 or so, and I'll invite the panel to address these questions. I'll go in the order in which they have spoken. Prime Minister, you had a few points directed to you. Can you please tackle those?
Well, I thought there was a question about disinformation. That was a general question.
Yeah.
And this is something that is, I think, more and more realized by countries around the globe, because although not 100%, because it was usually thought that for some reason, if you live close to Russia, like we do, we will be more prone to disinformation and propaganda and use of fake news and activities on social media. Because Russia was known to be quite active in this, but I think this is illusion, because in most of the cases, the way the social media, our freedom of speech is used against us, has little to do with direct sort of choices. Do you like Putin or don't like Putin, or do you think Russia is right or Russia is wrong? But it's more about our internal debates that we have in the societies. And that might look very innocent. It might be a debate about inflation, for example, something that we've suffered, I guess most of the countries suffered in 2022. And when you have high inflation and your society is debating why that happened, all of a sudden you will hear those debates that maybe it's because of sanctions, maybe it's because the countries have chosen to make decisions that has impact on the level of prices, but and sort of diluting the major reason why that happened because Russia decided to invade Ukraine and manipulate the gas prices, and of course the war had the impact on commodity prices. So this is something we should be very much aware of, that usually in our local, COVID was a good example. You had a debate between people who trust vaccines and people who don't trust vaccines. And that would be a very heated debate in whatever society, and usually this will be used sort of against the society, because it's not the point to get one opinion winning over another. The point is to get the society be permanently stuck in some sort of a internal fight, so to say, so that they would not have time for other issues. And this is something that is very very important. And I think we should cooperate and we should see the patterns, and we should find strategies how to explain to our societies that they should be very careful when they involve in debate like that, and when they see something that seems like an internal debate, there might be quite different interests behind that. And the second question was about have I lost trust in rule-based international order? No, definitely. It stems from my speech that I see no other good option, because the other option is the rule of force. And when you have a choice between rule of law or international agreements, treaties that we all subscribe to, and something that is brutal force, then I think this is not a very compelling option. Even with all the disputes we might have about how perfect our approach to international rules are, because as you know, as Lithuania was also a country that has been under occupation for 50 years. And many countries never recognized the occupation of Lithuania, but nevertheless, we were behind the Iron Curtain, and nothing happened much until 1989 and 1990, when we were able to restore our independence. And we were not recognized from the day one, when we decided that our state is reborn. So we could also speak about those, double standards at some point of our life. But I see no other option for small states to survive and not to be a sphere of influence or buffer zones of somebody's if the system crashes. And then the last question was about whether small states matter to each other. Was that the question? Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Can I turn to you, Mr. Alatia, to perhaps speak a bit about Qatar's evolving partnerships in the region in particular?
Yeah, thank you. I might answer Emil, I believe. His question about are we getting any, or are we seeking to have a credit over our mediation and the conflict in the region? Yes. The credit we are getting in Qatar for our role in mediating is the stability in the region. If you are in our place, you will understand that Qatar is obligated toward the world. We supply 30% of the world energy, and we are obligated for that stability in the region. At the same time, for the prosperity of our people. And we took this position because of our wise leadership, that we are in a place where you cannot belong to any bloc. You have to create a platform where everybody can come and change their thoughts and ideas. And whenever we had a chance to mediate conflict peacefully, we won't delay. In the end of the day, as I said, the credit we are getting is the stability of our region and our people. And this is the way we see it, and this is the way we will continue. And this is why we only do friends and increase our ally around the region and beyond.
Thank you very much. You want to say Part of Emil's question was about interacting with some of the larger states in the region. Is there something that changes in that approach compared to what you just said?
No, actually, we would always, when we have an, like, for example, what's going on in Gaza today, we are working closely with the United States and Egypt and other countries to solve this, this matter. You know, we cannot do everything alone. You need your friend, you need your ally, and you can facilitate as much as you can to reach to a, you know, a resolution where everybody can live with it.
Thank you very much. Kara-san, may I ask you to address the questions that were put in your direction, please?
Okay.
First of all, NATO, the relationship with NATO, I think there was one question about that. Certainly, Japan is not facing the North Atlantic. However, when we think about the relationship with NATO, there are 3 points. The first one, the Indo-Pacific region is actually connected to the North Atlantic. This one ocean, definitely. The second point, the concern that the NATO is facing is it can happen in Indo-Pacific region of the attempt to change the status quo by force. It can happen. And as I mentioned during my speech, I said this, and the one country cannot solve. The countries, the like-minded countries, we have to work together and work against the oppressive the countries. There are many countries in NATO, and that's why I think we can cooperate with NATO. And the second point, the Japan's or the security relationship with U.S., how it will be in the future. And by March next year, we are going to establish an integrated the campaign the office, and that we are going to enhance the command the system. And also that we are going to operate the counterattack more effectively, and evolve our activities, and also enhance the cooperative activities. For Japan, U.S. is the only ally, and we are going to promote a variety of activities in a wide area with them.
A final round of 5 questions or so. I'll ask for brief questions, please, so that we can get a concluding round of comments from the panel, please. And the first one from Japan, Tadashi Maeda, please.
Thank you, Bastian. My question is not going to Defense Minister Kihara because I know him very well. So my question is going to Prime Minister Šimonytė of Lithuania. Also, Defense Minister Kihara also referred to that what's happened to Ukraine may happen to Indo-Pacific in the future. That's true. My question to Prime Minister is that you talk about that you are now surrounded by the Kaliningrad and also Belarus in your neighbor. So you have very much imminent threat you feel. So you refer to that your concern on the Russia-China partnership. And my question is that that's one of the reasons, element that the EU withdrew from 17+1 most recently, and also you opened at the new office in Taipei. That's cross-related or not?
Thank you very much for that question. We'll take a few more, as I said. Paul Fraioli from the US.
Thank you, Bastian. My question is directed towards Prime Minister Šimonytė. Looking ahead to the 75th NATO summit that will take place in Washington, D.C. in July, what is Lithuania's position on steps that should be taken to further integrate Ukraine into NATO structures and the direction towards Ukraine ultimately becoming a full member country? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on my list is Bill Emmett.
Thank you very much, Bastian. And let me first of all thank Minister Kihara very much for your support for the Shangri-La dialogue and for the IISS. My question is directed to Minister Kihara. It's about defense industrial cooperation. Very impressive project for joint fighter, the joint combat air project between Japan, Italy, and the UK. We have big shortages and difficulties in the industrial base in Europe for production. I wonder if you could tell us whether you have plans for further expansion of Japanese cooperation in the defense industrial space with Europe, and whether the recent revision to the defense export guidelines now makes it totally possible for Japan to participate in, if you like, global supply of defense equipment, or whether further changes are necessary.
Thank you very much, Bill. From Indonesia, Ati Priyamaritski.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for Minister Minoru. So Indonesia is expected to be part of the Japan's official security assistance. But recently, Prime Minister Kishida and Defense Minister Prabowo agreed to deepen defense cooperation between the two countries. So does this mean Japan will offer wider defense cooperation beyond maritime security? For example, defense industrial collaborations? Thank you.
Thank you very much. From Germany, Elisabeth Hauschild.
Yeah, thank you very much. My question is going to Deputy Prime Minister of Qatar, Dr. Hadi. I'm quite interested in how you assess the current situation in the overall Arabian Peninsula and world, and thank you very much for all your endeavor that you are taking from Qatar for communicating and bringing people together. It was very impressive that even after a while after the Hamas attack, even Saudi Arabia and the Emirates stayed quite moderate, still facing maybe the foot on the grounds in their countries, but it remained stable, even to my surprise. Maybe you can say a few words on the overall stability on the Arabian Peninsula regarding the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm taking one more, and then we'll return to the panel for a concluding round. Julia Wu, please.
Thanks, Bastian. My question is for Minister Kihara. The US Space Force commander said that building a component field command in Japan is a priority, similar to the one that was built in South Korea in 2022. Earlier this year, he said that the plan was to build it in 2024, and earlier this week, he didn't specify any timelines. So is it on track?
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll take these. There are a number of others on the list that I will now disappoint by no longer getting to them in this round. But what I'll propose is actually that I'll ask Deputy Prime Minister Al-Attiyah to perhaps start with a few points on the Arabian Peninsula stability, perhaps views, population, and ruling elites. I think that was the gist there. Then I'll turn to Prime Minister Šimonytė, who had, again, a few points in her direction, and we'll close with Mr. Kihara. Please.
If we have to start on the Arabian Peninsula, we have to identify which peninsula we're talking, the wider one or the known GCC peninsula. I think we are a stable region. It's it's highly educated region and stable in a manner of the economy and the prosperity of its own people. But we are still affected by the surrounding region, the bigger region, the region beyond the GCC, and we always go to square number one. Our region do seek stability. Our region do seek to reach out and have a good relation with our neighbors in the Middle East and beyond. But still, there is an issue, unsolved issue, an old issue, a 70 years old issue still hanging there, causing all this turmoil in the region and beyond the region. And if I say it's beyond the region, literally I'm saying the whole world. Every couple of years, every 5 years, we have the whole world rush to our region because of this crisis. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is what needs to be solved. We have United Nations resolution. I don't know why we don't put all our weight to solve it according to this resolution. We have the Arabic initiative on the table. People would like to live side by side and prosper together. But the problem is you cannot leave the situation on Palestine as a status quo and it is satisfactory for your side, and then you think the other side will be happy with your decision to live in a miserable way. You are building up the pressure in the pressure cook. It will explode. And at the same time, we cannot come every time and try to create a new initiative or innovate a new initiative for the solution. There is a solution. There is a resolution, the United Nations and resolution. There is the Arabic initiative. If we don't solve the Palestinian-Israeli issue and to have the two-state solution living side by side, then I think we will visit each other, every now and then in a new conflict. So this is the situation in general.
Thank you very much. Prime Minister, NATO summit.
And
Russia,
17 plus 1
yeah.
and
17
Taiwanese
plus 1.
representative office. So I will start from the first one. Although the war in Ukraine started, as a matter of fact, not in 2022, but in 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea and invaded Donbass. But we've left the 17 plus 1 format in 2021. And that was the year when we took the decision to open the Taiwanese representative office, and it was before the full-scale invasion. And the major reasons behind that were that, first and foremost, we wanted to increase our cooperation with the countries in Indo-Pacific, and it was mentioned that we've signed also the strategic partnership with Japan, with Prime Minister Kishida. We've opened a couple of embassies in the region. We've opened a representative office of Lithuania in Taipei. And 17 plus 1 was a format where there was not much in it for countries like Lithuania. We were always, at least my government was always pushing for a united strategy of European Union vis-à-vis China, given that single market is single market, and the leverage is in single market. So we should discuss the issues that are of mutual interest in formats that are, so to say, at least comparable, not like small countries being in one bunch and one big country being in another. And when the invasion started, it is a completely different story. It is unfortunate to see that decisions that are being made by European countries, by our transatlantic partners, by other countries in other regions, to impose restrictions and sanctions in order to reduce the capacity of Russia to continue this war is being counterweighted by supportive shoulder of some jurisdictions, including China. So I think for us that left more of the debate whether the whole concept and the whole idea of the government was right or wrong within the country, but historically in a timeline that was sort of different, and the time points were different. Now when it comes to Ukraine and NATO, you of course know that Lithuania and other Baltic states are amongst staunchest supporters of Ukraine's membership, both in NATO and also in the EU, because we see that as a geopolitical interest of ours as well, not only of Ukraine, not only of NATO, not only of EU, for this to happen. But of course, it's not easy, given that our enthusiasm is not always shared by some of our friends, and of course there will be a very intense debate on what the summit can decide on. But what I would think we should preclude from happening is showing no progress of Ukraine's path towards NATO membership. Because what would be absolutely wrong is to have the same wording we had in Vilnius last year, pretending as if nothing happened in this time period between Vilnius and Washington, and definitely we know this is not true. So there should be very practical steps and very practical conclusions in the statement of the meeting of leaders of NATO in Washington, to show that Putin has no say in Ukraine's prospective membership, neither in the EU nor in NATO.
Thank you very much for that clear statement, Prime Minister. I may now turn to Mr. Kihara. You have 3 or 4 things to tackle: defense industrial matters, including defense exports, cooperation initiatives beyond what is on the table already, and then there was a specific question on the status Space Command as well. So, over to you.
So first of all, please let me talk about the GCAP. UK and Italy, we jointly develop the GCAP. And there are the requirements. And then we would like to transfer these projects to the other countries as well. However, apart from this, if we would like to do a joint development, and as of today, we don't have any specific projects. Secondly, the defense cooperations with Indonesia. Prabowo minister is going to be the leader of the Indonesia in the near future. So he is the leader who has a deep understanding of the defense. So based on our regulations and the law, we would like to cooperate together with Indonesia. And also, we can utilize the OSA in terms of the cooperation with Indonesia as well. The third point was I just couldn't understand what it was. I think you talked about the timeline of our defense projects. And in terms of the JCAP, it is a 2035, the second generation joint combat aircraft. And we have already signed the contracts together. And we are examining this project in our diet. So GCAP program is managed by the JIGO. And then, so this is the conventions of a contract we are drafting at the moment. And also the relationship with USA. So we have the new organizations, and we already have a budget for this to establish the new the group. And however, we're not too sure yet what kind of the framework the U.S. is going to have as a counterpart. So we haven't concluded the discussions yet. So, however, in terms of a timeline, we are proceeding well.
Domain and your plans to develop that further, and on what timeline that might be. Can you say a few words about that?
So in terms of the space, in the private sectors, we have the JAXA. So that is the organizations which precede the development of the space. And we also cover the different domains, including space and cyber. So in terms of the space, and that is included in the 5-year plan for the defense force. So our defense force is going to cover the space domain as well. And we are going to have the specific budget for this.
That concludes our fourth plenary session. We now have a quick refreshment break, and then we will have another set of very exciting simultaneous special sessions starting at 5. Before you leave the room, may I invite you to thank our excellent speakers for their very helpful remarks.